He's Grant Ramey. I'm Rob Lewis. This is the Exterior Home Solutions Fast Break on Volquest.com. Not such a challenge in the SEC Big East Challenge. I'm sorry, Syracuse. I'm sorry, ACC. SEC-ACC Challenge. Tennessee, kind of made short work of Syracuse tonight, 96-70, and it was a game where the score pretty much reflected what happened.
I don't think Syracuse is very good. I don't know how good Baylor was. I don't know how good any team Tennessee has played to this point. But that said, Tennessee has not played with its food at all. Tennessee has come out and played really good basketball against every team that's played basically since the season started, basically since that Indiana exhibition back in October. And tonight was another example of it, where 2 for 15 in the first half from the three-point line. And then they start 5 for 7 in the second half, and they score 96 kind of at ease. They shoot, 60-something% in the second half.
61%.
53-8 for the game, despite that slow start from the three-point. I think it's just a really, really good basketball team from what we've seen so far.
I do too, and we continue. I know you talk about it, I talk about it, we've both written about it, but I mean, to be this good, this early, on both ends of the floor, this efficient, with 3 transfers they're not just role players,
right.
I mean, they're
starters.
They're stars,
right.
They're big parts of everything going on. And to not have to wait until January for everything, for not endure the growing pains. I'm really, really impressed.
I'm going to throw something at you.
Uh-oh.
You're going to have to react on the fly. And maybe we've discussed this before, I can't remember. It's starting to remind me, and I'm not trying to compare the teams, but just how they fit together, like the 2018-19 team, where every player in the rotation had very specific roles, and they filled those roles very nicely, and they fit together very nicely. And that team did not live up to the Rick Barnes standard on the defensive end. I think they were in the 40s in the KenPom ratings. They were top 5.
I don't dispute that, Grant, at all. But man, they didn't have a Chazalmere.
Right.
And I'm not saying. Everybody is going to. It's unavoidable to talk about Chaz and Dalton, the comparisons. And I don't think Chaz is quite right there. But man, he's something close. And
right.
That team you're talking about, I just don't think they had a fireball that can do what this kid could.
And I don't think this team has a SEC Player
No,
of the Year.
they don't.
And
Well,
an
they might.
A consensus first-team All-American. But that team had more bodies, but they only had maybe a 7-man rotation.
Yep.
They didn't have any competitive depth at the end of the bench. This team's not going to have much depth at the end of the bench, but the guys they rely on playing big roles and playing really well.
And that's one thing. I'm just kind of thinking about this off the top of my head. Everybody talks about how. Everybody is kind of worried about the short rotation,
right.
The scholarships. What you're talking about, one of the positives of that is it vividly defines roles when you've got 7, 8, 9 guys
right.
that are playing minutes. And I think we might be seeing a little bit of that right now. What changes when Cam Carr comes back? But I think that's a really good point, that right now there just aren't that many minutes go around, and guys know what their jobs are.
And Rick talked after tonight's game about getting Cam Carr back and trying to have a 10-man rotation in SEC play. Well, that's not going to happen. That's not Rick Barnes basketball. It's not what he's done since he's been here. They've had bodies and they've had an 8, 9-man rotation at most. So I would expect to see that again. But that's if he's made that work in the past with a somewhat limited rotation, he can do it again. And what we've seen from this team is they know their roles and they're executing them.
And I just can't get over the offense, the shooting.
Yes.
The defense. Tennessee's going to fall out of bed and play great defense as long as they don't have guys sitting right over there.
Right.
But they're shooting 8 games in. After tonight, it's going to be 53%ish right at, and it's not all Chazalmere. He's great. He's great. He's been better than anybody could have expected. But man, they've got some balance.
Yes. And how many times have we watched a Tennessee basketball team shoot 2 for 15 from the three-point line in the first half and struggle because shots aren't going in, the offense isn't working? They couldn't hit a shot to start the game tonight, and the offense was fine. They had 45, 43, whatever it was.
They had 45 points. Normally, and that's not just Tennessee. Normally, anybody that shoots 2 of 15 is not going to have 45 points.
And that's because Felix is scoring in the post, Cade's coming off the bench and giving you 10 points in 5 minutes. And Jordan Gainey had 12. I don't think he scored a single point in the first half. That's the kind of balance and kind of versatility they have.
This is the ultimate gross oversimplification, but man, just the big picture. If you're watching Tennessee right now, it's a lot easier for them to score than it is for the opposition.
Right.
Part of that's Zakai, part of that's offensive rebounding, part of that's Chazalmere just throwing it in from everywhere. And defensively, man, they're just as nasty as all. It's just they get better shots and make more of them than the other team does.
The last 4 years they finished 3-1, 3-5 in KenPom defensive efficiency. This team, I think, right now is number 2. That's how good they are on the defensive end. And they went from number 11 to number 5 in offensive efficiency tonight. That's how good they've been on the offensive end.
Again, it's early. You don't get carried away. Teams change in college basketball. There are teams out there that are terrible right now that will be great in February. But man, it's hard to watch what you're seeing from this team right now and not be really impressed.
Right, and you're not going to be tested for a while. You shouldn't be. I mean, you go to Illinois, that's going to be a good test. Miami's not very good next week. Jimmy V Classic. You open with Arkansas. SEC is going to be a different animal. There's a lot of really good SEC basketball teams. It feels like, but for starters, for how quickly they've got off the starting line, it's been impressive.
Very impressive. He's Grant Ramey. I'm Rob Lewis. This has been the Exterior Home Solutions Fast Break on Volquest.com.